Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Good Guy Sports with me and Blake Wamberger on this
Gerke.
Friday. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Too many Blakes in the
Yeah,
kitchen, eh?
well, I know yeah, yeah. Listen, you're not the only one out there in the whole world,
It's true. Blake Griffin.
but well, that counts. But anyways, we have Blake Gerke, and myself, Jackson Gerke, two of us right now until Uncle Mike joins us, if and when he's if and when he does or is able to with among Blake Lumber, in in company. But but on this episode, today, with me and Blake Gerke, we are going to talk some NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, and then I got questions and thoughts on
A
where
rant.
the N well yeah on where the NCAA basketball tournament is heading. We will get to that in a little bit, but I do want to send our thoughts and prayers to John Sterling, that one of the taking the words out of Uncle Mike's mouth, which I know he will repay respect on if he's listening, that he was by far one of the most beloved Yankees radio broadcasters of all time. He was in his 80s and lived a great life. He has been the voice and called the Yankees win. He's been the most beloved broadcaster out there in Yankees baseball history, and and by far he was a legend, and he was by far the most on WFAN radio up in New York, and he was by far one of the most beloved broadcasters, I think, in all of baseball,
For sure.
and 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 Sterling would still love it if he were still alive, even though he's up to heaven in the skies right now. That his Yankees have the best record in baseball right now. So that's why I wanted to share this with you and give your thoughts and pay respect as we remember one of the great broadcasting legends that the game has ever lost for what was a great decades of a run for as a broadcaster in the Yankees broadcast booth. But it was a great legend, a life well lived, a character. He was loved the game, loves to keep on loves on scorecards, loves the game, loves his Yankees and the Bronx Bombers, and very well respected for what the game of baseball has delivered for all these years. And he was a
Absolutely.
great yes, he was a great man and well respected, and he is going to be missed. R.I.P.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he called five World Series victories for the Yankees, obviously part of that big dynasty in the 90s in terms of that Yankees team. So certainly a legendary voice and one of the greats. So yeah, definitely a great shout out to a great broadcaster for a great historic team.
That's right. That's right. And is by far yes, and he is one of the greatest, I think, icons from what he has delivered for all these years, with the organization and the family, who and their wives, a great family that who would be part of this funeral, which I know that in his life that he will be celebrated, even though his time was come, but at least the Yankees organization and the people who are beloved, in his honor with him will definitely pay a tribute, which I know whoever the next broadcaster in the radio booth will still live on and fill in the footsteps, which they can learn from Sterling, and I'm sure that the Yankees have the ability to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All
All right,
right.
so with that being said, we're going to now switch gears and we are going to start with the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Mm,
I don't know if you heard, but the Carolina Hurricanes won big last night, four
I'm
to one,
familiar.
against the Philadelphia Flyers in this tough crowd in Philly, where it was 4-1. And if you were watching any of the Stanley Cup playoffs games, which I know you were,
Of course.
so was I, it felt like you were about to me, it felt like you were about to go on this roller coaster ride. That's what the Stanley Cup playoffs are so good and intense, that really felt like to me, is that it
Yeah.
had some lean changes, going back and forth, extra quicker activities, hard
A
hitting,
lot of
and,
fights last night.
and
Yeah.
a lot of fights, and a lot of fights and shipping this and back and forth. And Philadelphia last night, the Flyers took 15 penalties last night.
Well, you know what?
15.
You know what, Jackson? I think that was ultimately that was down to frustration from Philadelphia because I think they realized pretty quickly, probably in the first two games of the series, that they were outmatched from this Carolina Hurricanes team. So what they had to do was, out of frustration, was maybe get some penalties, some roughing, a bit of fighting that you saw from the Flyers trying to get the crowd into the game. But ultimately, the Carolina's class showed, and they took a commanding 3-0 lead into this series. And I mean, you gotta give credit to the strength and depth from the Hurricanes as well. Like we saw it in round one against Ottawa, and we've seen it again here against the Flyers. It's kind of a complete team performance. You know, offense, defense, goaltending. Got to give a big shout out to Freddie Anderson. Made some incredible saves. All throughout the playoffs so far. Hurricanes are 7-0, yet to lose in this playoffs. Um, and yeah, just like the Flyers are no match for the Hurricanes roster so far.
And by the way, Blake, Rob Benjamin, their head coach, well,
Rod the Bod.
that's right. And they last won their only Stanley Cup, which, believe it or not, was actually 20 years ago,
That's
back
right,
in
yeah.
2006. And you got to think, with the Florida Panthers not making it to Stanley Cup, not making it in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, that you got to think that this has got to be the year that they're going to make it to the Stanley Cup final, and that and and that the fact that if they did, and if they were to win it, well, it would be like a 20. They should like what they should do is a 20 year um a 20 year anniversary on their Stanley Cup, and they should like put it on the Stanley Cup from they should do like a celebration of it from when they won their first one, and do like a anniversary on it, since it's like 20 years later in the making since they
Hmm.
last won it, which I think they should be doing, and which I think it would be very cool. But which I think it would be very cool, but to me, it would be very special. It would be awesome, and I think if and and if and if they were to and if the Hurricanes were to win another Stanley Cup title to earn their second, then the whole city of Raleigh and Carolina is going to be crazy. They're going to have a parade, and I think this, and they're going to embrace it, and and if you remember, that 2006 Hurricanes team also had a 7-0 record. I do want to point out
Is that
that,
right?
yes, and same exact record, 7-0, and they also won the Stanley Cup, joining a league company. The 1994 New York Rangers, Mark Messier, was the last team to do it. To name a few,
Okay.
along with the St. Louis Blues and Montreal Canadiens, to name a few, were the last team to do it, I believe. So,
Hmm.
yeah, on that list. So, yes, yeah, they would be joining some elite company if they were to partake in history. And also, if the Hurricanes were going to make the Stanley Cup final this year, then I think we should be inviting everybody to go watch and support our Hurricanes this year. Aside all of the Special Olympics people that you and I were there last time, but I think all of us should be going besides us Durkee family. We should invite Uncle Mike with us, and you know what? I think we should do that over the FIFA World Cup here in the USA. And I mean, has to be one or the other. The way that I look at it, but if the
Yeah,
Hurricanes,
listen, I know. Yeah,
yeah,
listen,
but
you're
yeah,
always I know you're always angling for tickets for sure. So fair enough. It's good to see your our local hockey team doing well. And listen,
oh yeah,
they're off to a really hot start. And I think to your point, the opponents they have in the Eastern Conference, it's their Eastern Conference to win, I would say. The West is a different discussion. We'll get on to that in a little bit, but um what about these Buffalo Sabres, man? I mean, we got to give a little bit of a shout out to the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, they've been a team that's kind of been a bit of a laughing stock over the past couple of years, haven't really had much success, and they've kind of built and built over the years, and they've compiled themselves a pretty good hockey team, you have to say, in Buffalo, taking a 1-0 lead against the Montreal Canadiens in game one. Game two, obviously, tonight in Buffalo as well. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, listen, I mean, the Hurricanes can't overlook if it is Buffalo, that there is their ECF opponent. Definitely not a team that you want to overlook. They were a strong regular season team and great home ice advantage there in Buffalo. The fans are riled up. Obviously, a great sports town we see with the Bills, and the same thing we said here with the Sabres, right? So a strong team. I wouldn't count Montreal out either in that series. They're scrappers, of course. The Canadians are, so definitely don't want to count them out. But Buffalo looks to be a pretty strong opponent on the other side of the East, right?
Yes, and let me just say this. So, if the Hurricanes were to make the Stanley Cup final, then the Green family should not go to the FIFA World Cup anywhere in North America,
Okay,
including Blake. So, me and Blake
noted.
Lumberger and Mike Roby will go to the Stanley Cup final together, and all of
Okay,
our friends will join in. Let me let me focus on and turn to the number series game against the Montreal Canadiens and Buffalo Sabres. So,
yeah.
the Sabres are a great defensive team,
Hmm.
and so far, I'm looking at the stats right now, is Tuck and Tag Thompson and Zach Bunton. They have been playing great hockey lately, and and so far they're really dominating. And Suzuki, by far the most dominant player in the Canadians. They really they were really dominant in the last series against Tampa Bay, closing them out in 7 games. But in this series, they are down to a down 1-0 right now in the series, in a 1-0 hole in that series against the Sabres. So yeah, if you look at the Sabres, they finally won their first playoff series um, for the first time since 19 years, dating back to 2007. The last time they won the first round playoff series, and they ended that drought. And the Sabres and Buffalo fans can certainly taste it. And you think about it, about hockey has traditions like most NHL teams do. Well, I think if the Sabres were to like do a hat trick, or if they were to score, or if they were to win any games at home, they should start a new tradition and throw wings on the ice.
You think, it might get a bit messy to be fair, but Buffalo loves their wings, don't they?
Oh, you betcha they sure do. Think about it. Those fans are really into their sports out there in Western New York. They love to jump on tables like they do in Bills games,
Yep.
and so do Sabres fans, and they are passionate hockey fans, and they really really love their hometown teams.
Well,
And
shout
those
out
Sabres,
shout out to the Blade Gang as well. I think BL
yeah,
Lamberger mentioned them recently. Like a fun little group of Sabres fans that skate around on roller skates around the arena, obviously jumping on tables, all that fun stuff. So Buffalo is full in on hockey. You think they're going to win the series though? Is that your prediction? You think Buffalo, Carolina, and that UCF man?
yeah. I don't think the series is going to be ending very soon. I could see this one going 7 games.
Okay.
I mean, no disrespect. The Canadians are still a great hockey team.
Sure. Of course, yeah.
No, we all know that. I just think the Canadians, what they did wrong in game one is they took too many mistakes.
Yeah.
They they took too many silly penalties, and they just really they and Gordon and those guys, they just gotta minimize the mistakes, and just make sure you just keep the puck and the ice away from the neutral zone, and just don't make don't give up any like big plays or goals, or shorthanded, or do anything out of the power play, or just take away from any like man advantage on it. And I think that if you correct any of that, and, and do all that, then I think the Canadians have a chance to even the series up.
What about overall in that series, though? You think Buffalo in seven is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, I think I could very well see it going that far.
Okay, Buffalo in seven is your prediction then.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've got Buffalo in six in that one, I think, and yeah, and then obviously I have Carolina probably to sweep, to be honest, in their next game. So I think Buffalo, Carolina is a very interesting ECF, not one that I would have thought before the season started. But hey, let's see. That's what playoff hockey is all about. New opportunities, new matchups, et cetera, et cetera. Should we shift to the West now, you think?
Yes. We are going to take a turn and switch from the Eastern Conference to the Western Conference as we focus in on as we focus in on two teams that I keep an eye on. Um, following the Hurricanes and Flyers game on Saturday, we got the Avalanche Wild, and then we got the Mighty Ducks against the Golden Knights to tonight in Anaheim, out there in
Deny.
Southern California, where you where you have.
At the old Mouse House.
That's right. At the old Mickey Mouse house, as they call it. And like where you think about it, you have Mike Trout that shows up as a celebrity. It's right across from where Angel Stadium plays out there in Anaheim, California. Just about an hour and a half away from where my sister lives out there in San Diego. And so to me, the Anaheim Ducks are, I think, in my opinion, are one of the greatest stories in the National Hockey League. And their head coach, Joe Quenneville, is no stranger. He
Mm,
has won three Stanley
he's
Cups
experienced.
with the Chicago Blackhawks. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very experienced. And I think that what I've seen so far for this Anaheim Ducks team, it is showing some no quit and just taking one play at a time. And this Anaheim team led by Carson and Jackson Lacombe and Jeff Viral and Lacombe and those guys have been really, really making big plays at the right moment at the right time.
Not many
And
people would have had them beating Edmonton last series, would they? I mean, it was
no,
a great
no,
series win, you
it
have to say.
was, it was, but it was because heading in this one, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and those guys, they fought they thought that they thought they had it and they were supposed to put this one away until Anaheim just kept on fighting and just kept on getting the pucks and just showing
Yep.
they taking one play at a time, showing no quit and just making big plays at the right moments at the right time and just going after the puck battles and doing all that and making big shots in that, making big plays, and I think that's what led um, to um, to the Edmonton Oilers' early exit in the last round, which listening in it, which it was interesting because if you're listening to one of the press conferences where Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl just knowing how the time is running out and yet they have like 2 years left in their contract and if they don't get things done out there in oil country then and those fans are just going to feel a bus, Blake. They're going to be a bus up there in Edmonton, out there in Quebec. So, not a great feeling if you're an Oilers fan, but certainly a great feeling if you are a Anaheim Ducks fan right now, Blake.
What about this Vegas team? Obviously, it's knotted up 1-1. Obviously, you mentioned
Right.
series back in Anaheim. I mean, what's your feeling here on how this series goes? It seems like a bit
So,
of a toss-up, in my opinion.
so my feeling for me, I think Jack Eichel has been the most dominant player in the series for the Golden Knights, and I think
Hmm.
it and and he's the team leader by 10 points so far. And their teammate Brandon Hall has 5 goals. Jack Eichel has 9 assists so far in this series. And so far, their only weaknesses for penalties are Colt Smith, their right wing player, and Mitch Marner, one of their right wing players, had like 4 and 12 penalties combined. So far, they're. Look, they're not out of it, but I think their penalties and are really the issue that they can get corrected on, and I think if they minimize on that, then I could very well see them try to bounce back, getting back in the series, which I do think the Golden Knights are can still be capable of doing that.
Seems like the Golden Knights just kind of find a way of winning hockey games. It's a simple way of putting it, but it seems like come May they just know how to win a hockey game, and I think I'm leaning towards Vegas in this series, to be honest, Jack.
Yeah, well, we all have our different opinions on this, but I think the Anaheim Ducks are
Okay,
going to move on,
all right.
and they are going to be going to the Western Conference Final to
I'm not
face
going to
the
argue with
winner
you.
of the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, which we will get to in our next Western Conference semifinals series. So that's who I have
Well,
advancing.
Well, yeah, we should jump to that series, which, to be honest, I think it's a pretty easy done and dusted prediction there. I think the Colorado Avalanche are a bit of a juggernaut in this Western Conference. Obviously, we saw the first two games were a bit of a scoring fest for Colorado, putting up 9 goals in game one, 5 goals in game two. I mean, this Colorado offense seems like it's pretty difficult to slow down at this point, huh?
Oh yeah, so far it has. I mean, right now, Colorado by far the President Trophy's winners of this season. Colorado, much like Carolina, has scored. They have a bunch of goal scorers. Leading off with Nathan McKinley, who is their team leader on their roster, and led by Gabriela Livingston, and by far their goaltender Scott Winwood. He has had some 168 save percentage, 9.2 free. That's a that's a pretty good great record so far, which tells you that this goaltender is hot. He's making big plays and big saves,
Mm.
and this Colorado team is much like Carolina on the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. They are playing lights out and very dominant hockey on their end, on their part. And so far, this Colorado team is rolling. They're on a great start, and Colorado looks like they're although the series is far from over. I'm not looking at myself. That it does appear to me that if they were to win this game, they would appear to me that they would be moving on to yet another run for a Western Conference final. But this Minnesota Wild team might have some other ideas to prevent that from happening. Where if you look at their roster on what they have, led by Karzupa and Matt Bowie, who are by far the point their leaders of points and goals, and their penalties are led by Mike Harmon and Brock Fulber, and assisted by Chris Pusa, and really it's interesting because Minnesota on for their goaltending they have like two of them, unlike what Colorado and the other Stanley Cup playoffs teams have, and you have Flip Gorziza and Jesper, and those guys just they are making big plays, but it's kind of like I don't know, a bit of a mixed bag, or just a little bit of everything, where they were giving up goals and making big plays at the same time. It was just what I mean by that is a mixture of everything. So I think that's where Minnesota is right now for on their end for their goaltending situation. But Minnesota playing very decent so far. But I think Colorado
Yeah.
to me is by far the most dominating team right now in the Western Conference.
Yeah, listen, I can't disagree with that. I think Minnesota played a great series against Dallas, who they themselves are a quality hockey team in that Western Conference. Obviously, one of the top points getters in the league themselves. But I think you're spot on. I think they just come up against an absolute buzzsaw in the form of the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, this team has just been dominant in the regular season. They've been dominant in the postseason so far. Um, they brushed aside the Kings easily in the first round. They've brushed aside the Wild so far in the first two games of this series, and I don't think that's going to change. So, to be honest, I think it's a Colorado Carolina collision course to this Cup final, man. So, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a different matchup given what we've seen so far. Two teams that have yet to lose a postseason game, Colorado and Carolina. I would not bet against either of these teams the rest of the way.
I agree, Blake. I wouldn't agree with you more. I think I have them in my Stanley Cup playoff bracket. I'm sticking with it. Although 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 I do have something different compared to what your bracket has, is that I actually have Colorado beating Carolina, but you have Carolina beating Colorado. So I think we're all going to be split on this one, depending on how
Agree
this
to
all plays
disagree.
out. Well, that's why we're a sports show. That's stuff that we can
Absolutely.
all have opinions on, right? And
Embrace
that's what we're
debate.
here for. That's right. We are a debate sports show. That's what Good Guy Sports should be, and that's and be and always be a part of for whatever it comes to those things. Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we want to
All
jump to a
right,
little basketball now.
switch move on and switch gears now and talk some NBA basketball. That's right. So we are going to be we are going to be starting with tonight against my dad's hometown Philadelphia 76ers going up against the New York Knickerbockers, the New York Knicks. The Knicks so far have a 2-0 series lead in that one, and there are a bit of a question marks on Philadelphia's roster um heading in this matchup where you have where where you have Joe B, who is questionable with an ankle injury for Friday's game tonight in the Eastern Conference
Yeah,
semifinals,
he's
and
always
then
questionable.
yeah, which in my opinion, if Philadelphia has any chance to even get back in this thing, he's got to play 100% healthy. Otherwise, I don't see them winning this game. I'm just really keeping it simple. And then for the Knicks for New York, if you look at one of their players' stats so far so far Obi Angel Banobi so he's questionable questionable for some some day-to-day hamstring injury. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have to watch and monitor, especially for those both players who are questionable heading in in this matchup tonight. And so for and so for Joel and B and if he can't go and so if he can't go tonight because of an ankle injury, which sounds like to me his ankle was not 100% and healthy, and if that's the case, then I would look for my next man up by at least getting the ball. I would be getting the ball to Tyrese Maxey, Paul George,
Yeah.
and Dean Bona with leading the blocks, and then I would just VJM come and Paul George would really step it up for him. I would just let them let them pass the ball and just really in the perimeter and just make those big plays happen and just get more shooting the balls going as much as you can. Just try to get back the crowd in it. So look, I'm trying to keep the Philadelphia sports team going with the Flyers losing last night, and if the Sixers lose tonight and the Flyers lose and Sixers lose on the same few days, think about how the city of Philadelphia sports fans are going to react the next morning or two.
Well,
Not great,
but what I would
but at least
say,
you get the idea of it.
glass half full though, the Sixers did pull off an amazing upset against the Celtics. The Flyers did pull off a great in-state rivalry victory against the Penguins. So glass
Oh,
half
that's right.
full, you can say they both won great first round series, but glass half empty, you have to say, in my opinion, there's no chance the Flyers are advancing past the Hurricanes. In my opinion, from what I've seen so far in the first two games, I give the Sixers very little chance of advancing against the New York Knickerbockers. Give me the Knicks in 5 games.
All right. Well, that's fair. All right. It looks like Uncle Mike's trying to go on. Hey, Uncle Mike. Sorry we kept it too long. I understand you were just coming back from a walk with walking with your girl dogs, right?
Yes, indeed.
No
All right,
worries, no
well,
worries. We're just talking a little basketball, Jack. So we jump to the
okay.
next Eastern Conference series, Pistons
Yeah, so we
Cavs.
just finished up talking 76ers Knicks in our last topic. Now we're going to be switching things up and we are going to be talking about Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert and
What about the other
Anthony
Eastern
Ant-Man
Conference
Edwards.
series, though? Should we jump to that one
Oh,
first?
oh yeah, sure. Sorry.
We just do a quick word on Pistons Cavs, maybe.
Sorry, that game is tomorrow night. We're talking about Donovan Mitchell and Cade Cunningham and the Detroit basketball Pistons against Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and the Cavaliers. So interesting thing to point out that each of the last two games have won by the home team. So tomorrow night's game is going to be in Cleveland. So that means Cleveland's going to probably win this game. So the way I see this series playing out is probably going to go to 7 games. But
What do you mean seven? They won the first two. Even Cleveland's going to come back to force 7 games.
yeah, because think about it.
I feel like you're just
Each
saying 7 games for every single series that we discussed so far.
think
But
about it. The Cavaliers and Raptors won 7 games because home court mattered that series. That's it mattered this series. That's all I'm
so
saying.
you think
So
Cleveland's going to win the next two? Detroit would win Game 5. Cleveland win Game 6. They force a Game 7. Is that what you're saying?
let me just say this. I'm looking at the schedule right now.
But
So
you don't think that's the case for the Knicks Sixers though. That's not going to be a
no,
seven.
no, I don't.
How
But
many
I
games will
could
that series be?
for you're talking about next
Yes,
Sixers at least a 5 or 6. I'm gonna give it 5 for that one.
5 game. Okay, yeah,
Give me 5,
same
yeah.
same as me. Yeah, Knicks and 5. Okay, fair enough.
And so, right. And so for me, when I'm looking at the schedule, they have 2 games in Cleveland. You have one game in Detroit on Wednesday, and then you have game 6 in Cleveland, game 7 in Detroit.
If
So the way I
necessary.
see it, I could very well see this going to a game 7 in that series. I mean, think about it. Cape Cunningham and Donovan Mitchell have been playing hot. They've been playing healthy. They've been shooting the ball very well inside 3-point range. They've been in the perimeter making big clutch shots, and that's what they do. And and oh yeah, these Pistons are for real. So too are the Cavs with James Harden minus the post LeBron James era. Although the last time the Pistons played the Cavs, it was against LeBron James back in 2003, if I recall, back in those days in the early 2000s, 04 decade, and LeBron James actually won that game too.
Hmm.
So a little history lesson for everyone out there. The last time that these teams played, but just to give you an idea on the last time these teams played, but yeah, definitely a lot of high scoring affairs heading into this matchup.
Definitely seems like a Knicks Pistons collision course in the East. What do you think about the Western Conference though, Jack?
Although let me just say this before I move on to Western Conference. So I
Okay.
think Cape Cunningham. Let's say so game 7 in Detroit. Let's say if Detroit wins that. So and if the Knicks were to hold on and win that series in the East, so I'll be looking at another collision course for the New York Knicks that year after year. Listen to Stephen A. Smith and all those sports expert shows out there. They think they
Expert,
wanted. Well, yes, exactly. ESPN expert. Shout out to Stephen A.
quote
Smith.
unquote.
Oh yeah, I hope he listens to our sports show, and I hope he knows us very well. But what he was
I
saying is
I
that
doubt it.
year after year, but we never know. But anyway, as I was saying, year after year, the New York Knicks were this close. They were on the doorstep of making it to the NBA Finals. Yet you had this player called Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers that showed up in the big minutes and doing the choke sign of much like what Reggie Miller did back in back in the in the '99 playoff season when they had Reggie Miller. But let's say the Pistons meet the Knicks yet again, and if I were and in the last few meetings that they played against each other between the Pistons and the Knicks, the Pistons actually outplayed and outscored the Knicks the last few meetings. So I'm going to say if the Knicks Pistons meet each other in the Eastern Conference Finals, then I would say Cade Cunningham will do Tyrese Halliburton moments, which is
Hmm.
making big play, clutch shots down the 3-point range, and he will do just that. And I think they'll go to the NBA Finals. That's just the way I see it. But
So
anyway,
you're picking the Pistons to win the East. Is that what you're saying?
if only well, I am
What are you saying?
only if Cade Cunningham and the Pistons play healthy and show up. in the big moments, in the right moments, then yes.
Right, right. So is that an official prediction? Pistons win the East, or are you still deciding?
I'm still deciding, but I
Okay,
think
that's fine. That's fine.
I'm gonna slightly go towards Pistons for the moment.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Listen, we got time, obviously. I don't know, Mike. Are you leaning one way in the Eastern Conference? I mean, this Knicks Pistons, obviously the Eastern Conference kind of opening up maybe this year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be Motown against the Big Apple.
Mm.
Um, I'm going to go with the Knicks
Yeah,
to win it all. And
Mm.
that's assuming that OG's hamstring is not serious.
sure. Big question mark, of course, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We've been discussing and talking a lot about that, and now I want to turn my attention to the Western Conference semifinals now against the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama, the Frenchman. Bonjour to Victor Wembanyama, the tallest player ever in the NBA, going up against Ant-Man and Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert of the Timberwolves.
And he can
Ooh,
shoot threes, Jackson. He can
he
also
sure
shoot the
can.
three
He sure
ball.
can.
Don't
And the
forget
game is
about
being
that.
played. That's right. And the game is being played in Minneapolis, and the crowd's gonna be rocking and really into it, Blake. And I can tell you right now, yeah, the Spurs are probably gonna be the best team to beat in one of the Western Conference Finals. But the Timberwolves play tough at home in front of their home
Well,
fans, and that's really going to
I
be the
would not
difference
I
maker
would
in this
not count
series.
Minnesota out, man. I think they're a
the,
tough team.
the Timberwolves did what they wanted to do, split the series in San Antonio.
Absolutely. I think you count out Anthony Edwards and these Wolves at your own peril, Jackson. That's what I say.
I agree. I agree. And
Jackson,
one, yeah.
let me ask you this. What if Mike is correct, and I think he might be in the Knicks? What if the Knicks win it all? Well, I mean, can New York City survive that? I mean, that's the most doubt. How long's it been since they've had a title? They might burn that whole city down if the Knicks win it
I
all.
believe I
Well,
believe Mike, the last time they won was 70, 73 or something like that, like back in the 70s, right?
Probably so.
I want to say they made the
Probably
finals in the
so.
90s, but they didn't win it. I think the last
Yeah.
time they've won was way back in
Well,
the 70s.
that's one way for the city to forget all about the Mets.
There you go.
yeah.
Lord knows they need to.
Yeah, and don't forget about the Giants, the Jets, and Yankees. How the city is starving for championships, and yet
At
they
least the
still
Yankees are
didn't
doing
get
all right,
one.
but yeah,
Who are they?
never heard of them.
Never
Well,
heard of
you
them.
get the idea, but
That
yeah,
Division three.
Division
Is the
Two,
state
Division
of New
One.
York getting some pep in their step? You got the Sabres making a run too. New York, the
Yeah.
state had
If you
some
count,
tough
I
teams
don't know
for
if
a
I
while.
count. You don't count Buffalo as like New York, but they're like a whole nother ball game,
That's
basically.
Southern Canada.
That's
Exactly,
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Let's just say Buffalo's going to be in Canada, not New York. In
basically, yeah.
fact, it's in
Well,
fact,
their
yeah.
fan base stood up and sang "Oh Canada."
There you go.
No way. They
They
do. I
did.
think they do
The
both
mic
national anthems at every game.
the yeah, and the microphone went out, and to help the singer sing "Oh Canada," the crowds was standing up,
Wow.
and they
Wow.
helped finish the anthem.
There you
Now,
go. That
how's that?
explains it.
How is that for sportsmanship?
There, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, it's happened quite a few times in the NHL, among others. But I know, to Uncle Mike's point, it certainly hasn't happened the first time. I mean, I've seen this happen for example, in the Stanley Cup final last year between Edmonton and Florida. So you get the idea that when that game was played in Edmonton, when they had a bunch of whole crowds singing together, which you get the idea of what Uncle Mike's saying. But it does make sense there, and I do get what you're saying. But yes, Buffalo, um, in my opinion, I feel like is in Canada, just
Sorry, Jack. I
almost
got
barely.
sidetracked. Sorry about that.
Oh no, don't worry
Jack,
about
what
it.
about the
You're fine.
other? So the other Western Conference series that I guess they played last night, right? Was OKC and
The
LA.
Lakers, yeah.
I mean, doesn't look like much of a series in my opinion. I think OKC is a bit of
Forget
a
about it.
bit of a juggernaut, right?
Yeah, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren and those guys just they have been pretty much dominating, taking control of the series and LeBron James, yes, he's been by far the most dominant player in the NBA right now, other than Michael Jordan, of course, back in the 90s. But so far from the post game from the post game analysis that I've been hearing from that locker room from LeBron James, from Doncic and um and and for and for their head and for their head coach um
Reddick.
JD Redick yeah, right, sorry yeah, JD Redick, that they have not been. Yeah, it sounded like to me that they have not been on the same page because of how great of a team that they went up against OKC, that they are that yes, you are the defending NBA champions, and that you are going against a, like you said, a juggernaut, against a team that has depth and veterans and has a bunch of playmakers and a bunch of stars
You
and
know
It's,
what I
Jamal
heard,
it's
Murray and those
Jack?
guys and
Go ahead,
Jay
Blake.
Williams and those guys and
Jackson, you know what I heard?
Alexander.
You
They
know what I heard?
Blake, they have by far that that to me the Thunder to me look like they're gonna be going on their championship run
Not Jackson, not so
that's the
fast.
last time
Oh,
they did it was the Shaq
let him
and
go,
Kobe
Jackson. Let him
and
go.
Tim Duncan days. Yeah, sorry, Blake. Go ahead.
Jackson, rumor has it, West Coast, of course, WST, that Bronny James is going to come out of nowhere and put his father on his back and carry the Lakers through this series and help his dad win the
Ooh.
series. How do you feel about
That would be some shock. I mean,
That would be quite something there, Blake, but I'm not sure if I'm buying that.
that? You shouldn't be. That's
That
why you're
I
the
that's
best, Jackson.
that sounds like something out of Hollywood.
it does sound very pie in the sky. I like the optimism, Blake, but I have a hard time seeing any other result in this series versus a Thunder win. But I mean, yeah,
But
Jackson, you mentioned Reddick and LeBron and I guess Austin Reeves complaining to the refs about
Yes.
the game last night. To me, it just seems like sour grapes, to be honest. They know they're outmatched. They know they're playing a better team. So they kind of have to take out their frustration against the referees. I think OKC is just a better basketball team. It's as simple as that, really. So I think that's a pretty simple equation here. OKC just a better basketball team all around. The Lakers injuries, I think even with their full strength, I'd still take OKC in this one. So looks to be an OKC advancement here, and in my opinion, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree, Blake, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just kept bringing about the Lakers head coach JD Redick, but I will tell you that he does have some Duke ties. For our beloved program of the Duke Devils, which 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 we appreciate that as beloved fans of for us Blue Devils fans. But at least JD Redick did make a point and on what of how the refs have been just so, on some calls that we can agree or disagree on,
Mm.
and especially when it comes to any playoff hockey or basketball game, which I feel like there's some calls we can agree and disagree on. I mean, there were some calls in the Stanley Cup playoff, and one of the Stanley Cup playoff games last night between the Flyers and Hurricanes, where one of the Flyers players just where five was a clean penalty and then it wasn't, but then the refs just called it anyway, which to me makes no sense, and I think they got to address that for the NHL or the NBA for whatever that is that they need to fix and then just go from there. But also I did want to point out that I did what I forgot to mention before I move on, that Rob Bendamore actually, much like JJ Redick, but Rob Bendamore, yes, that these teams on the ice don't like each other, but pre and post game, that Rob Bendamore, and we know that Rob Bendamore used to play for the Flyers and has some great connections. And he actually was in their Hall of Fame back in the 90s. That's how I found out about him as a coach and a player back in his day. So a lot of connections, but it's interesting because when they arrived at the Philly airport, into this game, I want to say it was a few nights ago, that they were getting cheers by Rob Bendamore once he arrived, but the players with him, they all booed him, and that was really how it all went down for once they arrived out there in the Philly sports complex out there in the brotherly love comics out there in Philly, and so to me, it just gives you the idea on how it all is said and done, and yet Philadelphia. You got to think if you're a Philadelphia sports fan, you got to think there's some hope for your Sixers if you're not going to win it tonight, or for your hockey team for the Flyers if you don't if think about it if let's say if both the Flyers and Sixers both lose in consecutive nights, then that's going to be a very very tough, rough night for for um for all the Philadelphia sports fans out in the city of Brotherly Love. Not going to be a great feeling. There's just going to be a bunch of boo birds just yelling and yelling and just chirping out after what they've seen last night if that were to happen.
For sure, for sure. Jackson, I think you wanted to close the show with a bit of chat around the expansion of the NCAA tournament. Is that right?
Yes, I do. And I got some questions for our panel to ask about it. So there was an article out there that I've read on ESPN and all various sports shows I've been listening to that there have been news that the NCAA tournament is expanding from 64 to 76 teams. Now, I will tell you that anybody you listen to that I've been listening to, they have opinions that there is some stuff that many people that can agree and disagree on from what I'm seeing. So here's what I think is going to happen. So you are getting rid of the first four and replacing it with opening night in college basketball, meaning you're playing games in the afternoon while people are at school or at work on a typical weekday on like Thursdays and Fridays, maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday is when those games are going to most likely kick off, and then you are just going to what's going to happen is that you're going to be having a expanded field, and you're going to get more and more and more teams, and that and so
So do you like this? Are you for it? Are you against it? What's your take?
um I think it depends on who you talk to,
Well, I'm asking you.
I think Mike Ropey and Blake Lumber might have a different opinion on this, but I'm all in on this because
You
here's
like it?
why. Yeah, because here's why. You get more college basketball, you want more excitement, and you
Thought we
want
already
to
had
have.
enough.
I know, but for me, you can never have enough. I want to watch more college basketball games and relive every moment of every second of every shot, and so for me, I want to see like and so to me, the way I look at it is that think about it this way. So the NFL has been playing games internationally. It is a perfect example of that, and the college football playoff expansion is a whole different story because I doubt that's going to happen. But the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament being expanded to 76 teams, yeah, people have different opinions on this that they can agree and disagree on, but whether we like it or not, it's going to happen, and there's going to be some changes. But sometimes change is always a great thing, and I think for the sport and for the product, there's always going to be some 16 teams, and there's going to be some like and you're going to have like some like small schools that like want to try to get in the big dance and just be a part of it, and so and so you want to have like Dusty May against John Shire or maybe a perfect example of that would be although some people might say it's going to ruin the college basketball season, which I don't think it will, but many people say it does, or or I would say for me, let's say if okay, a perfect example of one. So let's say if I want to give you a perfect example one. So let's say if they play the Duke Carolina game in Charlotte, then Blake Lumberger will be going to that, and that would make no sense to me. But what do you but I could definitely very well see it in a neutral site, or it would be like Michigan Ohio State being played in Cleveland or in Detroit, which makes no sense. But it would be the perfect but it would definitely be something for the NCAA and for college to really think about. And
Well,
I think,
let's get our
eh,
panelists' thoughts
right.
here, Jackson.
Okay.
What do you
So,
let's see what do Mike and Blake B.L. Lineberger expanded NCAA tournament. What do you guys think about this? First reactions.
Well, are they doing away with the play-in games?
No, so I believe the expansion is within the playoff game, so they're
Okay. Because right now
expanding.
there really is 68 teams that make the tournament because you
Mhm.
got four of those are play-in games to get to the 64.
Right. So,
So you're really talking about instead of 12 teams being added, there's really 8 teams
well, so
being
basically they're going
added.
to replace the first four with a
Yeah.
12 game opening round.
Okay.
What's basically in terms of that first four, which
Yeah.
like, I mean, I'll give my quick opinion. I just think it was fine as it is. 64 teams,
Yeah.
one winner. I don't really know why I need to tweak it, but I guess it's just for the TV audience format,
Money.
all that. So
Money.
exactly.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I
you're
think
always,
it
yeah,
they have a tendency. I think the fear would be the watering down of the regular season
Right.
because you could get teams that are right on the bubble and you move the finish line for the bubble. So you get some teams that are, right just above 500 getting in, and they may getting in because who those programs are. So I'm not sure if you're going to get an expansion to include some of the mid-level teams, the more Cinderellas, which
Mm,
I think people would excite people.
yeah.
So I think they need to be very careful how they do it. But it wasn't broke, so I'm not sure why they fixed it.
Yeah. I would agree. BO, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope, man. It's like once they did the play-in games, they just went to this. To Mike's point, I mean, you really got to incentivize like grinding out through the season. I mean, it's like it's so funny because NCAA men's basketball and NCAA football couldn't be more opposite. You lose more than 2 games in football, sometimes more than one if you're not in a Power Five, and you're done. Men's basketball now, you can drop tons of games and you can still get in. So I don't know to his point. Hey, load management, Mike, here we go. Now they're going to do 5 seasons in NCAA men's basketball. We might start seeing some load management.
yeah. You're right about that, Blake. And I think, to your point about it, yes, the money does, yes, they do make a lot of money, and the TV revenue, all that within the next decade or so, which I feel like is yet, yet it does make sense, but I know it's but I know we can't go back to 32 or 20, which is not going to be an option for the NCAA. But they want to do this because of money and revenue, and they want to make things and they want to make and they want to make more people as the event, and more people just want to draw into a bigger audience is part of the reason why they want to do this is the reason why they're actually expanding the tournament is that they want to expand and grow to a wider audience so that the average college basketball fan can really relive every moment so that their team who are outside the bubble can automatically get in, which is part of the reason why it makes sense for me and why they want to do it.
For sure. For sure. All right, Jack, you want to get us out of here, man?
And before we go, I do want to get a quick shout out if I could before we get ourselves out of here for the night for heading into the weekend that I want to do a that I want to do a quick shout out to Golden Temple, who the first woman trainer named Charlie Darvix, who was one who she becomes the first woman to win the Kentucky Derby, is also the co-owner of the Florida Panthers, in case you're wondering, who has won Stanley Cups for 2 years in a row already. So I do want to get a quick shout out to that Golden Temple, and and that she becomes the first trainer at what was a very historic race, and when we talked about it, talk about it on our show last week, and now I wanted to mention that she became the first woman ever to win the Kentucky Derby. And if anybody had Golden Temple on their bingo card on this panel on Good Guy Sports, then congratulations, and you just won yourself millions of dollars and some money, and sort of feels like anyone who did won your ticket to the lottery.
For sure. It was a great race and a worthy shout out for sure.
Sure was, Blake, and anyone who walked away, like I said, a winner on the panel for Good Guy Sports just got very lucky, and that's all I gotta say.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Jackson, you want to get us wrapped up here, man?
All right, everybody. Great talking to you, and great to have everybody with us. I'm Jackson Durkee, signing off. Everybody have a great weekend, and next week we will be talking about the PGA Championship as we get ready for another golf major. This year, it's going to be taking place in Philadelphia at this country club. I have no idea what the name is, but I'll know more about it once we talk about it next week. But for now, I'm Jackson Gerke, Blake Lomberger, Mike Roby, B.L. Lomberger. I'm myself, Jack Gerke, signing off on Good Guy Sports. We will talk to you guys next week, and until then, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Adios, Jackson.
Thanks,
Go
guys.
Adios.
McElroy.
Happy Mother's Day.
Go Rory.
Happy
Go Rory.
Mother.
He's charging.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. That's right.